Okay, good morning and welcome to the May 23rd City Manager and Mayor's Press Conference. I appreciate you listening in. We have a few things we want to go over today. One of the things that I visited with the City Manager about, and that was our recently passed land bank by the governing body. As part of that, I want to make sure that we still give some attention to detail so that people aren't confused about how this will work. So I'll ask the City Manager to give us a little bit of a quick thumbnail, and then I want to make a comment about the board that is also authorized now because of the passage. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the land bank that was approved last week at governing body is set to go into effect July 1 of this year. Our first steps are trying to assemble a team and that the mayor was just mentioning, and we'll go through that. But beyond that, we'll start to identify areas, neighborhoods that are in special needs where we may have some opportunity. So the county right now is scheduled to have a what's called a tax sale in August. Those dates are, I think, pretty fluid right now, but we'll take a look at what's on the tax sale rosters. And if it looks like there's some opportunities in some neighborhoods that make sense, could be a rehab, could be a vacant lot for the city to acquire, then at the tax sale, the city would stand to be a bidder. It is definitely not the intention for the city to go into competition with private industry. What we're hoping to do is get these properties that are not being maintained, they might be vacant, and they haven't been paying their taxes, and get them into productive use. We have a shortage of housing here in the community, and we think this is a tool that we can use to provide some good homes to families. So the pilot program is a 3-year pilot. Really, with the money that was set aside, Mr. Mayor, I think we're probably talking 6, 7, 8 properties that can be rehabbed or acquired. We're not talking about starting off with 100. We're not talking off with a lot. We're trying to learn. And we'll start with 1 or 2 and see what we can learn and try to get better and then move on to the next ones.
Thank you, Stephen. Also, along with that, as we mentioned, that there is a board that's authorized for this activity, and there are 3 specific roles that are already identified. One person would be selected from active person from NIA. We'd have a city council member, and then somebody designated by the city manager as a city employee. So of the 3, those are the 3 of the 5. There are 2 open positions, and those are at large per se, and I would encourage people who are interested and have some knowledge base on what we're trying to accomplish with this, that if they're interested, forward their intentions to the city mayor's office. There will be a process that we utilize it for all of our committees, so that everybody gets a chance and they all get reviewed and given fair consideration. So I would encourage people who are interested in do that to start now, because we would like to get that board in place in advance of the July 1 big start. Another big thing I want to bring up is tomorrow is TPD recruit graduation. It'll happen at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll be fortunate to be there. I think City Manager will be there as well. Be out at the Bishop Elementary Learning Center. I'm glad to welcome on a new group of officers, and as I was out there this morning for another meeting with the City Manager and staff, I saw a process going on for promotions within the department to the rank of lieutenant. And I think that's really notable because we're moving, bringing people in, and we're moving people up the chain of command of responsibility, and it's a serious activity. They're not chosen randomly. There's a real a process that you have to go through. So my congratulations for all of those who stepped forward, whether you get selected for lieutenant or not. I thank you for your service that you've given us to this point. I'm going to put the city manager on the spot for something that he's doing May 26th during Bike Month, and ride with the city manager. Do you want to give us a little bit about that?
Well, I think we have public safety on full alert for this
Yeah.
one. So we are doing a bike ride with the city manager. It'll be a great tour around this area. We're trying to promote great recreational opportunities. We're trying to show where there's opportunities with bike lanes and whatnot that we've made accessible to the public. And Mr. Mayor, as you know, those are efforts that require a lot of help, not just inside the city. And so we'll show that off a little bit, and we'll see if I can keep from crashing.
Wear your helmet.
Helmet.
yeah.
I always wear my helmet.
Yeah, they take off from City Hall.
City Hall, I think it's at 12:45. That's this Friday.
I think I noticed as well that if you're inclined to participate but don't have a workable bike or a bike, that
Yep.
they may have a few to loan just for this ride.
We'll have some spare bikes and some spare helmets. Certainly helmets are something that we openly promote, and as we get into summer and more people are out and about, please take care of your kids, take care of yourselves, wear your helmet.
I want to highlight a few things that have happened that I think are worthy of note. Annually, French Middle School holds its Save the City rally. I and others get invitations to go there, and I met up with Councilman Duncan and Superintendent Tiffany Anderson there, and got to tour the displays that the eighth graders there put up. And, you know, it's encouraging to see these young minds thinking both locally and globally on some of their ideas. And they even focused on some of the properties that we are hoping to develop still in Topeka. They had a lot of ideas for West Ridge Mall, which I think were pretty innovative. But I'm encouraged by these youth because they are sold on their responsibility to keep Topeka growing and for them to participate in what happens here in Topeka. So for those students and the teachers, I thank them for that effort. It's always encouraging to me when I go there and I get some of their handmade business cards, because it shows they're serious. It shows they want us to know their names, and they applaud their teams for the work that they put together. So I want to thank them for that time with them. Also, I think you're well aware of the appreciation event that we had for May, the Military Appreciation Month here at Topeka at City Hall. Well attended. It was really a good event, and the military people and their families who participated really thanked the city for acknowledging the service that we get from our city employees who are veterans or who still may be serving, or those veterans in the city of Topeka. And more importantly for me, to acknowledge that there were students there in the audience that are graduating from high school and are moving into the military service. I think it's important for them to know that the city of Topeka appreciates their service, appreciates that they're taking a big step in changing their life, for a while be leaving their home and everything they know to go into a whole different world of service. So I think it's important for us to acknowledge that they're doing that for us, because that's what it boils down to. And then along with that, we had TPD officer Razzo, who was formally recognized for his service in the National Guard by the Topeka Police Department. We also had a recognition for an officer, Jared Rowley. He received an Exceptional Service Award from the National Association of School Resource Officers. I think that's very significant. We've had SROs in place for some years now, and there's been back and forth about whether to keep them, whether to use them in different ways, but I tell you, if you spend any time around the schools with the students and the teachers, they will make it very clear that they appreciate everything that the SROs do for the city and within their schools. So it's significant that one of our own gets that national recognition. One of the last things that I want to bring up is the deadline. Deadline, June 1st, for those people who are interested in running for city council. You still have time. It's at noon, June 1st. All the even number 2, 4, 6, and 8 districts are open for filing. So if you've considered it, if you've given some thought to what it will be for you to serve on the city council, I would encourage you to file. And if you do, good luck. It's work running for office, and if you're lucky, you win, and it becomes more work. But I encourage people to participate. That's how you get involved in your local government. And in advance of that, make sure you register to vote. The primary for that election will be August the 1st, and that is extremely important. Don't let that wait till the last minute. We make it very convenient for people who want to register to get registered, and it's important that your voice gets heard by that vote. So ask your friends, family, coworkers if they're registered. They may say they are, but sometimes they're fudging a little bit, because I experienced that myself, knocking on doors, asking people if they're registered, and they would say, well, I'll get to it. And I said, no, let's get to it now, and encourage people to get registered. This is an extremely important time of year, and an extremely important election. What impacts us most as citizens of the city of Topeka is local government. And so your governing body has a lot of impact on your lives, daily lives. We work hard to try and make it a positive impact. So make sure you register, have your say in who gets to represent you in city government. That's one. There's one more thing at the end, but I'll save that for city manager if you want to add something else in there.
Well, hopefully I won't steal your thunder
No,
here.
well, if you do, that's good.
I've got a couple things here. So later this week, City of Topeka will be announcing an opportunity for a unique experience. We're going to conduct a combined Public Works and Utilities Citizens Academy. So we've done this with TPD. We do a little bit of it on the fire side. We've talked about Camp Courage in the past, but this will be an opportunity for folks. It'll start in late June, run for 7 weeks. Be an opportunity to see the behind scenes of the work that we do with our water system, with our streets. Be a great experience. More information on that coming out later this week. But we encourage folks to take a look at it and apply, and that should be a fun time.
Yeah. The city manager and I have talked about these kinds of efforts in a way to be as open with how we get our work done, as be inviting, because it's hard to understand all the details of what goes into a lot of the services that we provide for the citizens. And so giving them that opportunity is an extremely important tool in the communication efforts between the city and the citizens that we serve. It's served well for the Topeka Police Department and the Fire Department for their academies, where citizens get to come in and see more detail to the work. So I'm glad that you're holding that again. I think you'll find a lot of people will take you up on that. Yeah. So, okay, anything else?
I want to brag on you for a second. So yesterday was our 7th annual Battle of the Badges blood drive. I know you signed up, Mr. Mayor. So we had 44 units donated yesterday. It was the police department against the fire department. Much to the dismay of the fire department, I can tell you that the police department came out on top. But that's something, again, it was our 7th annual. We're proud to do that in conjunction with the Red Cross, and it's an important thing that we do, and certainly appreciate the support of those that were there.
Yes, and I was lucky to get in there first.
Yeah.
Because we had other meetings to do.
Yes, we did.
And to help me through it, I counted on Chief Wheelis. I don't know if you saw any of the photos that were.
I'll have to go look at that.
We had fun with it because it's a good thing to do for the community, and you can have fun with it. And I encourage people to give on a regular basis when they can. It really helps our community because all that blood stays here in our community. So one last thing I wanted to add was May. It's a busy month for everybody because of graduations, promotions, graduations, high school, going from middle school to high school, college, graduations all over the place, celebrations, and they're good celebrations because we need all of those students in our workforce. We need all of those students to help us find the solutions to a lot of our issues. So I congratulate the students for their hard work to get to that point, and I congratulate the families who support the students, who get them to everything they need to get to, and all the sporting events in between, and everything that is part of the experience of going to school and getting a good education in the city of Topeka and Shawnee County. So my congratulations to all of them. And for me, that's the last thing I have, unless you want to add something, or we'll stand for questions.
I wouldn't mind bragging on my team for a second.
Do it, please.
So last week we had a bill signing. This was House Bill 2216 that really comes at the advocacy of a lot of folks, but especially Chief Prosecutor Kelly Trussell and City Attorney Amanda Stanley. This bill will have an impact on a lot of individuals in our community trying to get out of the cycle of poverty. So we had a situation to where mandatory jail time was put into place for driving with a license that was either canceled, suspended, or revoked. And in a lot of ways, Mr. Mayor, those penalties were excessive compared to some other things. And with the advocacy of those two, and certainly with the help from our delegation at the State House, we were able to get that overturned rather, and that's going to help those folks get back to where they can go to work without increasing their debt and keep them out of jail. And so we certainly do not encourage folks to drive in those particular situations, but having a job will help get out of that. So very, very appreciative of the work those two did.
Yes, it was good work, and it will open the door for a lot of people who, because of mistakes they've made, can move on beyond that and get a meaningful job and help themselves. So I appreciate their work. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Steve. So,
All good.
okay, stand for any questions, or sit for questions, as it were.
Have either of you been part of any discussions regarding the future of Heartland Park Topeka?
For myself, I have not. I've not had any direct discussions with anybody with regards to what plans, what actions may or may not be taken. I have not had any. I don't know about city.
No, that's all taken across the street.
What does Heartland Park Topeka mean to Topeka tourism?
Well, I think it's one of many events and activities that help support Shawnee County and Topeka. I know there was a lot of excitement when we got the drag races there, NHRA. I'm an enthusiast of that, and have been out there several times for that. Even when they did the other motors sports out there and the motorcycle races, all those things bring people into Shawnee County that we appreciate their attendance. And then also the Stampede, that's another big event that we were able to garner. And it's been a well-attended event. I know it got off to a rocky start the first year because of the weather.
Right.
It was really bad. But they endured, and they've continued, and I think we still have, I think, the third one coming up. So it's important to have it as a regional activity and a regional resource. But there are business concerns that have to be taken into consideration for every operation.
And I might just add on that one, we all have an obligation to pay our taxes. And we appreciate having Heartland Park, and we appreciate having the events that we just talked about. But certainly we also have an obligation to the rest of the taxpayers to do our service also. And so, that's a dispute right now, but certainly if a business isn't paying their taxes, then it's going to invite some challenges.
You talked about police recruits earlier, I think. Right now, I'm told we're down and TPD's numbers are down right now. We have an increase in homicides. Is this something that can help with that situation to get maybe closer to full staff and more business as usual?
Well, Doug, I would want to tie the number of police officers to any kind of activity, like you suggest, homicides. Because I don't think any direct correlation. I do think that having more officers on the street will help us do a better job of responding to constituents and their needs and requests for assistance. A lot of a policeman's work in a day in his career may never come in contact with a homicide. I know from experience. I was a homicide investigator for a while, but for by and large, most policemen will never get the opportunity, as it were, to have to be in contact with a homicide investigation. Those occur oftentimes as a result of domestic violence, drug deals, just uncontrollable rage in many cases. And to be able to tie the number of police officers to that kind of activity is, I think, maybe misleading to the public to think if we have more policemen, we'll have fewer homicides. So I want more policemen. We need more policemen. I know that having a presence on the street is a deterrent to all kinds of crimes. So in that sense, yes.
I guess having maybe fewer officers right now than you want, that doesn't necessarily mean less on the street. You guys do, do you bring people in, change shifts around, overtime, that sort of thing to keep the numbers closer to where you want them?
Yeah, the department has always for a long time looked at resource management, being the police officers. They have X amount of officers assigned to uniform patrol, X amount assigned to detectives, investigations, others to support services. And I've seen it where we've got to a point where we've changed roles for a while, because every police officer down there is in a position to be able to step in different roles. And that's what I think the chief has done a good job of managing those resources that he has, allocating them to those areas that he sees where they can have an impact. So having that opportunity with more officers gives us a chance to do that. The community policing program, that requires additional staff. And if they're doing that and not able to respond to other calls for emergency, then that impacts our community. So we will always respond to the high priority calls as much as we can. But you really want your community to know that if they call and they see there's a need for assistance and they call, that an officer will be able to respond as quickly as possible.
Got a question for you both regarding the utility rate increase. It's broken up into 3 parts, but they're pretty short. So where's the city of Topeka in that planning? How will customers be informed, and what will that timeline for work look like?
City Manager?
As far as utility billing, that takes place January 1. As far as trying to answer your question, those rates will be notified. Actually, we've done a lot of that already, but as we get closer, there'll be notices posted, and I guess I missed the rest of it.
Oh, sorry. I think you got it, yeah.
Okay.
But the last one, well, where is the process of putting that money to use? What does that look like from the city of Topeka side?
So that money, as we talked about during the process, a lot of that addresses inflation. Certainly we have some infrastructure issues that are underway, and that's part of the CIP process that we're going through right now. In fact, the CIP process will finish up the middle of June if all goes well. We'll have some opportunity for conversations and questions at next week's council meeting, and then we'll take it to a vote that second Tuesday in June. And we're also looking at replacing water main lines. There's a lot of money of that rate increase that goes into that, and trying to fix issues where we're having broken lines and water leaks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tying on maybe to what you said there, it seems like, I don't know, is it inflation, you guys get a project ready to go and then the cost goes up?
Yep.
Is that, I mean, is that just gonna be reality now when you're trying to do these projects? You're gonna have to deal with that?
Well, I don't want to forecast the future because I'm not very good at it, but certainly right now we're seeing inflation rates in construction as much as 16%. So it's much higher than the average rate of inflation. So when we're talking about projects that maybe we priced out 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we're seeing dramatic increases in those costs. And so we're taking a look at each one of those projects to make sure that we do need to do it. See if we can change the scope to maybe lower that price tag a little bit. And certainly you've seen that with some of the debates on streets. We did that with 17th Street, and we had a little bit of that conversation last week in council in regards to Huntoon.
How much flexibility does the law allow you with projects that were approved through the countywide half-cent sales tax?
So to change that, we have to take it back to the JADO group and amend those projects.
Otherwise, how's the CIP process going?
Well, that's probably a better question for the mayor, but from my angle, we've had a few questions from council members. We're addressing those. I don't see a lot of challenges coming up, but you know, we talked a little bit about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So you just never know.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, since coming on council, I've seen that process change, and for the better. That's a big bite to take and chew. So the way it's being presented now to governing body members, I think it's not so, I don't want to say overwhelming, but it's not so much information that it's hard to really ask detailed questions if you have them. And so the way we do it now, I appreciate that change, is it gives everybody a chance to take it kind of in segments, because when you're talking, 5 years out, and, you know, how can you predict for sure what will be our situation? So taking it in this bite by bite approach, I think has been really helpful for the governing body to be really cognizant of what's going on, of where the money is being spent and why. Mm-hmm. And it makes us better managers.
Mayor, you suggested earlier that people contact your office if they're interested in being on boards such as the one for the land bank.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please provide a phone number and an email address?
Yes, if I can. I don't even know the,
789-368-3895.
The-
And the email will be jmurray@topeka.org.
if you can
Could
hear
you
that.
do that?
Okay. That's the easiest way to go, if it all goes to the mayor's office with that phone number. So that way, the process gets started there. And again, that's at 785-368-3895. And that's, an email is at mayor@topeka.org. You've had a good response too from the community. In fact, I was at an event the other day at Washburn University, and a gentleman that I've known for years, well respected in the community, a lot of experience. He told me that he was thinking about retiring, but he still wanted to stay connected to the city and its works, and asked me to consider him for a position in a committee or a commission. And I asked him to look at those that we have available to see if there was one in particular that he's interested in. And that's the other thing, is you don't just pick it to be on one. You have to have a passion for what the mission is for those committees and commissions are. And if you are, then I know that you'll be in that seat and be able to contribute significantly to those efforts. So I'm encouraged by that, though. When I took office last year, we had a lot of vacancies. And those vacancies just were sitting there, open. So we did a review of those vacancies, looked at some of the bylaws, changed some of the process, and made the public appeal. And those are pretty much just about all filled up. And that's encouraging. And it's a wide demographic, young and old, business, retired, some that are still in a student capacity, I would say. So we're getting a good cross-section of the community.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if it makes you feel any better, I don't know my own phone number either, so
I know.
I have to do the same thing you did, so you're not alone.
Okay, any other questions? No? Well, thank you for being here and for the questions. Have a good day.
Thanks.